So this is Dad's sculpture garden, and that's some of his artwork. You can see the influence of his past. He was a pilot, even a test pilot for the RAF in his younger days, before becoming a test pilot for BEA, as then was. You can see, I think there, this kind of streamlined vibe to this particular sculpture and to a bunch of his sculptures. They have a kind of aerodynamic look to them, occasionally involving propellers. And that's one of the things that I think intrigues people who like his art about it, is the fact that there's this connection with his intense interest when he was younger in being a pilot in aerodynamics and aeroplanes. He used to build them, model aeroplanes. He was pretty good at that, and he became an equally accomplished test pilot. And then he became a commercial pilot, and I think that killed his interest in flying, because it was like driving a bus for him, I think. And so he retired early and took up, first of all, music and then art. And then he eventually took a HND, which he converted into a degree, I believe, in art. And he's never looked back. Here in Dad's sculpture shed, you can see one of his sculptures where the influence of his interest in flying and aviation is quite clear. There's this lovely propeller on the front, and if you look, you can't really see it through the glass, but you can see there's a couple of eye holes there beneath the propeller cowling, and inside that sculpture is a bicycle, and you can cycle this sculpture along, and he did along the front at Hastings, and it might even been at Brighton as well. He's recognised in this part of the country. He's not famous or anything, but he's certainly recognised locally in the southeast of England. He'll appear in art magazines and other art publications, and on various programmes for art-related activities. People come to his sculpture garden, which is what you're looking at now. And he doesn't just do sculptures, he's quite versatile. He does quite a lot of potting. This is an example of the kind of thing he does. Also, not quite sure why he buried this washing machine, but that was one of his art projects. These kind of various found art items, or sorry, just found items that he's converted into sculptures, as well as these wooden ones that he's made. Has this wonderful surreal vibe with some of his creations. Again, you can kind of see the kind of aerodynamic stroke aeroplane influences in some of the sculptures. They're really wonderful. I love them. I think they're terrific. Sorry, there's a crow complaining over there. I think these are they're really, really great. These sculptures. Whatever that is. It's a kind of birdman, I think. And then again, he has these found object sculptures. And we go inside, have a look at some of the stuff in there. All of Dad's house is just absolutely full of, well, art, found art objects, found items that he collects and makes into these little montages, which are just so much fun to pore over. He has got a wonderful collection of old Dinky and Corgi cars and all kinds of curious toys from all eras that he's collected and made into these little tableaus, and then together with all kinds of curious finds from the countryside around his house, and then all mingled in with his own sketches and doodles. And as I say, just found bits and pieces, dead starfish, bottle tops, you name it. Like I say, his interest in aeroplanes is ever apparent. I think he flew. That's one of the aeroplanes he flew. He also flew, I just discovered today that he flew Vulcans, their old nuclear bomber. He didn't actually fly them on bombing missions or was part of any squadron. He was a test pilot at that time. And in fact, what he was testing was an instrument that they wanted to use in the Concorde, he was telling me, for takeoff so that commercial pilots could get the Concorde into the air without crashing it. But it turned out, and well, so the reason why they did that in the Vulcan, because it's a delta wing aircraft, and the Concorde is also a kind of very swept back delta wing. And it turned out that in the end, this particular instrument wasn't really needed to get the Vulcan into the air for pilots who weren't trained necessarily on cutting edge delta wing aircraft, and so it was never required. But yeah, he flew Vulcans. This is the spare bedroom where I'm staying, and these are some of his other artwork forms. He calls these shrines. Kind of makes these, well, little shrines where he puts small sculptures on them. And he has many, many of these, I don't know what to call them, mainly humorous. I love these ones a lot. These old bits of wood that he finds on the beach or in other places. I think they're really, really great. They look fantastic to me. And then he has lots of these pottery sculptures. Oh, he's calling me. Just look at this lot. This is another type of sculpture that Dad does. They're kind of, oh, phone's ringing. These are like chair people, made from chairs. There's, maybe you can see this one a bit better. It's made from a chair. He's got quite a few of them. They're really, again, here's another one. They have a head, you've got a couple of arms, and then you have a kind of body with stuff in them. And then often we have, that one's a bloke. Dad's house is so packed with stuff. Well, there's another one, look. It's got kind of, here you go, the eyes. This one doesn't really have arms that are sticking out. And it has a kind of midriff of ancient old, looks like a radio, I think. And again, that one's a male. And then there's all these wonderful pottery animals, teapot animals, birds, you name it. And he's got so many of them. The whole place is kind of crammed with them. There you go, there's a more immediate reference to his love of flying. These are another set of creations that I really like of Dad's artwork, and he calls them trikes. They're three-wheel sculptures. This one originally was the body of a mandolin, I think you can see that, and he's made it into a little creature that has three wheels. These two are made from weighing pans, and again they're trikes. They're a three-wheeler, and they have a little eye, and then they have various gubbins, which are, their interior of their design, of their little bodies. This one is particularly funny because it has a saw as its nose. If we can kind of get this one out of the way. There we go, look at that, saw nose. I think he calls it saw nose. That saw right there you have to be damn careful of it. He's made 3 of these and he's sold the other 2. And again, you can see they've got little features in their bodies. And my shadow's getting in the way. And they've got little eyes. And then they evolved, Dad says, into his ceramic versions of the same. Here is a ceramic trike that he created. So the body is pottery and then it's got wooden wheels. And I love these, like his chair people. Some more of Dad's 3-wheeled sculptures. This is what those funny saw-nosed sculptures developed into. They look like something that Dr. Seuss might imagine, or the guy Sean Tan, if you're familiar with that artist. Very surreal vibes. This is his workshop conservatory on the side of the house. This is where he does a lot of his woodwork. Builds his chair people in here. Got a whole video of him building one, which is on my the art channel. This is his wood supply inside the greenhouse. And interestingly, for me at least, he's got a canoe here, and that blue kayak buried there in the stinging nettles was one that he used in slalom competitions. He made it himself out of fiberglass, I believe that's the one, and paddled it in slalom competitions, and even went with the British kayak Olympic team to Val d'Isère in France and paddled with them on the occasion that one of the team died in a rapid, and he was paddling, I think not with that particular member, but not far away from him, and so he was there during that tragedy. So this is Dad's sculpture garden, and that's some of his artwork, and he's had quite a varied and interesting life, I must say, as a boy who loved building model aeroplanes and flying them, and then as a pilot and test pilot, and then once his love of flying was destroyed by being a commercial pilot, becoming an artist with this terrific sculpture garden, which is slowly decaying back into the ground, but somehow that seems right, and certainly he's not unhappy.